as all of you know, Iggy did an interview last week with Jimmie Ward. And very often I do not watch Iggy stuff live because he puts 5 things on a day. And I'd like to have my own life. Fair enough?
Yeah.
But when his mom and I knew that he was doing the Jimmie Ward, and I wanted to watch it mostly because I wanted to see how Iggy handled it. I was more interested in how Iggy does journalism and interviews than in Jimmie Ward, although Jimmie Ward is a phenomenally interesting person. Now, again, I got to apply the same standards. I was favorably impressed with Jimmie Ward. Would I make a statement that he's a great guy for life? Who knows?
We don't know.
Richard Sherman was. So
right.
All I know about Jimmie Ward is what I saw that day, and he was delightful. Beyond that, I'm not prepared to say that about anybody, but maybe 10 people.
You're not making any character judgments based off an hour interview.
Absolutely not.
No.
So here's what I want to say. What I want to praise Iggy about. First of all, when you do an interview, you got to get a really good subject. Mm-hmm. If you get someone who's monosyllabic or hostile, it's not going to work.
No.
Kaepernick.
Oh, yeah.
It would be
impossible
to try. Well, he would never do it, but it would be nuts to try to get him. And Iggy, when I was working, if I had one of those and it was clear it was going to be like that, I very pleasantly would say, this isn't working. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you around. Oh, yeah. I did any number of interviews like that.
Yeah, we don't need to do this. Yeah.
Don't need to do it.
No.
And he's miserable. I'm miserable. So that's it. So first of all, Iggy got a wonderful, we'll call it a subject. Okay. He got a wonderful subject who was Jimmy. I got my notes here because I wrote them down. Now, his job as the interviewer was to bring Jimmy out, was to let Jimmy emerge. The way I look at it is I think of a flower that the petals are all bunched up and the sun shines on them in late morning and the petals open up.
Yes.
And it smells great and you look in, it's so beautiful. And what you as an interviewer are and what Iggy was, he was the sun. Do you see what I'm saying, Iggy?
Yes.
Iggy was the sun that created the environment for this lovely person to flower. And Iggy, when it happens, it feels like a miracle, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. But at the get, it felt so easy. I mean, my first question was, how'd you get into football? And he was like, well, it all started with cheese fries. I was like, man, this is easy. This guy's great.
That's great. Right.
And what I also noticed was he wanted to curse. And he was being respectful of my platform and Sports Illustrated and holding himself back. And I said, go for it, Jimmy. And from that point out, that helped him be as relaxed as I think he could be. And from that point out, it was great.
Yes. And this relates to another point I want to make. As the interviewer, you want to say as little as possible.
Yes.
When I used to transcribe tapes of things because remember, I wasn't video, I was words. And if I saw too many Lowell words, I would be angry at myself. Mm-hmm. The idea is to shut up and just be the sun and let this person emerge and flower. If you talk too much, you'll shut him down. And who cares about your story? The whole thing was about Jimmy, not about Iggy. Would you agree?
Yes.
So, and you, Iggy, were very quiet. And the only thing you did, again, which is what you need to do, when a topic was talked out, then you would guide them to the next topic. And you were, in fact, extremely prepared. You had you written out your questions?
Yes, of course.
In school, right?
Yes, yes. And I had them in banner form over here so they could go across the bottom of the ticker.
I got it.
Yes.
So you would exhaust a topic.
Yes.
They have a natural lifespan, topics, and then you moved on to the next. And he was so happy that he moved, but you were silently guiding the conversation. I.e., I feel in an interview like that, I'm the director, he's the actor. Did you feel like that?
Absolutely. And it was clear early on that I had freaking,
Al
Pacino. I mean, this is easy. I just have to set him up. And he did great. I thought the best parts of the interview were really a lot of times stuff that I hadn't planned, either tangents that he went on or answers to questions from people in the audience. And every time I would just be like, shut up. Here he goes talking about McVay or Matthew Stafford.
Right. When you say shut up, you mean not
to myself. Shut up. Grant, right. Let him go.
Yeah, like you plans it to go in this direction, but it's going in that direction, and you think, I'll let it go.
Let it
Shut
go.
up and let it go.
This is gold. Yeah, this is better than what I could have planned, and I can't believe he's taking it here. There was one point where someone said, "What do you think of the new safety?" One of the rookie safety, Talanoa Hufanga. I thought, man, he's not going to like this question. This is going to be boring. He goes, "Oh yeah, he works out with Troy Polamalu. He gave me Troy's number. Troy wouldn't call me back. That's a good story."
Yeah, why would you call him back?
Because no one knows who Jimmie Ward is. He's the Rodney Dangerfield of safeties. He gets no respect.
Got it.
Yeah. And one more thing. So I've been putting out like more controversial parts, transcribing them and putting out on my website. I transcribed the part where he said that Sean McVay is big-headed and kind of silly and foolish for testing him all the time, and the part where he questioned whether it was right to go from Goff to Stafford. NFL Network picked it up this morning. NFL and it was discussed for 5 minutes. My interview on Good Morning Football on NFL Network this morning, and they said my name, so that was pretty cool.
Hold on, slow down. So they said Grant Cohn interviewed Jimmie Ward.
Yes.
Who were some of the people who were talking?
Peter Schrager, who's like the host, and then Nate Burleson, who used to be a player and is also one of the hosts.
Yes.
And they were talking mostly about is Jimmie Ward right? And they were all like, well, maybe not, but we really like the trash talk. We really like that he's up in the ante, and everyone thought it was really cool. Everyone gave Jimmie Ward a lot of pub and FaceTime.
And they said Grant Cohn from Sports Illustrated?
They did.
I'm glad about that, because that's another place that wouldn't give you the time of day.
Yeah, that's true. So now they are.
So now it's daytime over there.
Daytime, yeah. First thing in the morning, they mentioned me. So that was cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. Hold on. Let me see if I've got any more. There's two other things.
Mm-hmm.
When you're interviewing someone, and Iggy, you did this, and you're enthusiastic, you smile, you laugh, you got to mean it.
Yes.
Because if you're phony, they'll know it.
Yes.
And what I learned over my life, I am really interested in other people.
Yes.
I'm not the kind of ego where it has to be about me, although sometimes it does.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not that self-facing, but in an interview, I am sincerely interested in the subject,
yes.
i.e. that person. And Iggy, you were with him, and it came through to him, and he felt safe in your environment.
Yes. And it seemed like he was somewhat appreciative, because I feel like where he's coming from is no one in the media has ever really given him the time of day yet in 10 years of a career. And he was grateful to at least have an hour to talk about himself.
And he ended it by saying that don't stop being an asshole. Is that what he said?
Keep being an asshole. Yeah.
Keep being an asshole.
Yeah.
And I thought about that a lot. Again, we were English majors. You think about all the implications. He was joking, and
yes.
he used asshole as an affectionate word.
Yes.
But he also meant you're an asshole.
Yes. And he also meant don't stop being yourself just because I gave you this interview. Keep going. You don't have to be nice to me just because I didn't come on here to get you to be nice to me. I genuinely don't care if you criticize me or praise me. Although it seems like he appreciates the praise, but he also doesn't. He likes the challenge. He made that clear too.
Yes.
And I like that about him.
Iggy, we've known people like that. Harbaugh's like that.
Yes.
He doesn't take it personally.
John Lynch doesn't take it personally.
Steve Young.
No. The best athletes don't take it personally. They take it as an opportunity to prove someone wrong. And they do that for a living. They've been doing it their whole lives.
Jeffrey Leonard was like that when he was with the Giants. The more I criticized him, the more he liked me. And we ended up, again, I don't become friends, but we ended up becoming quite affectionate toward each other.
What I've kind of noticed is most of the time, if you are, our job is to criticize athletes. If we do it and an athlete objects to it verbally, that's a bad sign. To me, that's a sign that you can't prove me wrong on the field and you have to argue about it. You shouldn't use your words. Just prove me wrong. Do what Jimmie Ward does. So usually, the guys who object verbally are the guys who aren't going to make it. And the guys who take it in stride and just prove you wrong and give you a look afterwards are the ones you respect and remember the rest of your lives. And
you'll praise them.
Absolutely.
They proved you wrong.
Like, we're really more of a test. We're just the weather. Can you handle a blizzard? Because we're going to bring it hard. And some guys are built for it and some aren't. I'm not going to say names, but you already know.
I know hundreds in each category.
Yeah.
Dealt with it my whole adult life. Okay.
And that's, I think, one thing what Jimmie Ward said. Someone asked, like, what do the other people think? And he's like, well, if you piss them off sometimes, that's on them. That's between them. It's like, are you really, did he hit you where it hurts? Did he hit you in a vulnerable spot, or is he totally wrong? And if so, why do you care?
There were two things that really impressed me about Jimmie. There were many. One, what a delightful sense of humor he has.
Yeah.
Delightful. The other is, Iggy, he is really smart.
Extremely.
Oh,
extremely.
Football
players in general, but he's like at the smartest. Richard Sherman gets all this credit because he went to Stanford. This guy's just as smart.
I would say my guess is he's at the Richard Sherman level.
Yeah.
Listening to him, his ability to analyze things was phenomenal, and he's so subtle in the way he thinks. Iggy, I would love to have covered him.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
I would love to have covered him. What a blast.
Yeah. Swan Song says, Daddy Cohn, how was covering Will Clark? Sorry, it's coming up in a second. How was covering Will Clark?
Oh, that's so interesting. At first, he was very difficult. He was pugnacious. I don't mean hitting, nothing like that. He was pugnacious and always looking for an argument. One time, he was a rookie, and I walked into the clubhouse before a game. You used to be able to hang out. Now everything, you can't. And he was talking to someone at his locker, and he yells out, Lowell Cohn, and he gave me the finger. Iggy.
Wow.
Finger. So afterward, I went over and I said, why'd you give me the finger? And he goes, I didn't like what you wrote. I said, I didn't write it. That was the other guy. And he goes, he didn't apologize.
Oh.
All right.
You can get it too.
There were other times I would go in there and he would use the F word, F you, Lowell. He would yell. And I got used to it.
Yeah.
And in my book, I don't know if I can tell this. It was his Candlestick. There's a few curse words, but I think we'll be okay, Iggy.
Yeah, go for it. We're allowed to curse on this show. Yeah.
So I can even use the F word?
You can do it. If Jimmie Ward can do it, you can do it.
Okay, I don't want to get you in trouble.
No, I looked at the rules. You're allowed to do it.
Okay. So they were playing a Candlestick. It was a Wednesday day game, and I got there early, and there was always, if I went in the clubhouse, someone was yelling at me. I just thought, who needs it? They'll play the game. I'll write a column. And it was a beautiful morning. The wind didn't come up there till 3:00. It was beautiful. So I was sitting on the bench alone in the dugout. They had the tunnel that went from the clubhouse to the dugout. Here comes Will Clark walking out. And I think, oh man, I was enjoying the morning. Now I got this guy.
Yeah.
So, and he has a bat. And he starts walking back and forth in front of me, just not saying a word. Back and forth in front of me with
stalking
the bat,
his prey
like this, right? Stalking me.
What was he, like 24 years old? 23?
Him?
Yeah, at the time. Will Clark.
Probably, yes.
Must have been a kid,
yeah. So finally he stands in front of me, he goes, Lowell Cohn, you think you're so fucking smart. That's what he said to me. Iggy, and I looked and I said, Will, I don't think I'm so smart. He goes, yes, you do. And he goes, he went to Mississippi. He goes, and I want to tell you something. When I went to college, I read Shakespeare and all that shit. And Iggy, I knew then that was the greatest quote I'd ever heard from an athlete in my whole life. Shakespeare and all that shit.
It's the first time anyone had ever said Shakespeare and all that shit in the history of the English language.
Right.
No one had ever done that.
No one had ever done it and never admitted it, right? There were so many of those plays. I like a lot of them. Some I don't. And you had to take it. It was required, for an English major. And you're thinking of Shakespeare. It's a lot of shit. Shakespeare and all that shit. Well, now, Will.
There's actually a class at UCLA, Shakespeare and all that shit.
Shakespeare and all that shit, right? Yeah. Isn't that one?
It's a prereq. You have to take the class in order to graduate.
You got to take it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So now when I see Will, and I haven't seen him in several years because I don't go there anymore, he always gives me a hug and he always says, Lowell, tell me that story. He loves the Shakespeare story.
But it's funny how like the people that you had conflict with when you were 35 and they were 25 are the people that you get the biggest kick out of seeing today a lot of the time.
Will and I get along great. Kuiper, I hope you're okay. Kuiper and I get along great. And we had conflict. And Don Nelson and I get along. Bill Walsh and I got along. The conflict,
Jerry Rice and you get along when you see each other.
very much so.
Yeah.
The conflict leads through another door.
Right, because you see someone after 20 years and you're like, man, I used to not like this person. I'm not exactly sure why, but that was a long time ago. Look at where we are now. I actually feel affectionate and nostalgic, right?
No question. No question.
Yeah.